Technical difficulties with our logo here.
It's okay. I am SF Rogers.
And I am DL Golden.
And we are the Authors Chaos. And today we are super excited to have the one, the only KJ Davis join us.
How are you?
Doing good. How are y'all?
Doing pretty good.
We wanted to come on and do this podcast with different authors. As always, we are not professionals at this, guys. Any advice that we give is just our advice and stuff that we've heard anecdotally. So stick with us. And we are super excited to talk to KJ here. So tell us about yourself, KJ. Who are you?
Hi, I'm I call myself a working neurodivergent matriarch. I'm a military vet spouse, a small business owner, a descriptive fantasy sci-fi writer, and I value kindness as kind of a cornerstone of everything that I try and do. And I've been writing since I was a kid and kept notebooks all over the place. And I guess fortunately or unfortunately, my husband, many moons later, found one of those notebooks and said, "You've got to do this. This is amazing." So long story short, I'm a writer now and an actual published author. So
That's cool. So you kind of said a couple of genres there. What genre would you say that you write? Is it a mix?
I say that I fit into the fantasy sci-fi fiction crossover genre.
Okay.
A sort of elves in space.
See, we always come to this point, and we run into this with a lot of indie authors that they're doing these combined or fused genres, and I think it's so interesting because so often when you go into a bookstore, it's like, this is a fantasy, this is a sci-fi, this is a horror. But with indie authors, they're like, let's just mix these because they don't have some company saying you can't do that. And we think that's really cool because my book, Origins, is also a science fantasy story. And so I find it really fascinating that, like, every author we've talked to, basically every author we've talked to is like, this is a combined thing. I don't really know where it fits, and I think that's really, really neat.
So you said you've been writing since you were a kid. About what time, how long has it been since your husband was like, you need to do this?
Well, I started on the official series back in 2016, balancing momming and working and wifing and all of the other ings of my life. I managed to find small bits and pieces of time to write and take the stories that I've already had written all over the place or in my gray matter, and then actually put it on paper, which I think is kind of the hardest part. And then, make sense of it. But several years later, I've got book one ready to go. I'm finishing up kind of the typesetting and working with my artist on wrapping up the illustrations. And I've got the prequel out, and it just, one thing led to another. So yeah.
Nice.
I get that. A lot of it, I think it's really hard to put your writing out there. Even if you've written for a really long time, it's hard to throw it out into the world and be like, hey, this is part of me. Why don't you go ahead and critique it? And that is really scary. So how long has your book been published, and what's it called?
Right. The prequel is one that I sent out earlier this year, around January, February, and it was kind of my testing of the waters. I had planned on having a line of supplementary books to go parallel with my main story. My inspiration was whenever you'd have a series with a great author where they would have additional books that either helped you get a better understanding of the main storyline or just gave you a little offshoot an extra story. A great example is when J.K. Released not only the Harry Potter series, but also textbooks, a collection of Harry Potter textbooks. And it was adorable. And I love that. Or when I would play video games. Yes, I'm a nerd. And they would release like art of Diablo or Blizzard or whatever, and it was fascinating to me. So I wanted to do that is give my readers a little taste, and it also helped me as, like you said, an indie author, kind of learn how the real system worked before I put my investment in the big book that's coming out this fall.
Nice.
Gotcha. So you said something about games. Daniel and I are avid gamers, so that's never going to be something that we're like you about, like.
Right.
But I think that also helped us in developing our own stories. Is the stories that we played as kids and even as adults. I'm an avid, played Diablo, played a lot of Assassin's Creed. I love the Horizon Zero Dawn, and I just love the Horizon games. I love the storylines, but there's so much folklore that comes with games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Oblivion and things of that nature, where you can go back and you can read like all the depths that people have thought of. So that's really cool that you're doing that with your own book, to have the lore come out so that they know what's actually happening. That's pretty cool.
Right. I'm definitely a descriptive writer, and I just love immersing myself. Well, since I was a kid, I've immersed myself in this world. So having these extra little tidbits are sort of my way of giving back to those who choose to follow my series. I just loved it. Baldur's Gate and D&D and just Narnia series, Lord of the Rings, you name it.
Right. So would you say that your books have a lot of video game inspiration, or is it more of like a side thing that's adjacent to your writing?
I think it helped a little bit, but my original inspiration was brought out. Like I said, I've had these characters in this world in my mind since I was very, very little, 10, 11, whatever. And back in the day, things weren't like they are now. And, it is what it is. But there were some difficult times. I still am a very petite person. So, bullying was a thing. And kind of a Harry Potter-esque way. I didn't live underneath a cupboard, of course. No, I had a loving mom and everything else, but I did get bullied. So, these characters became my friends. And this world that I ended up developing over the years became my refuge. And it accepted me for my undiagnosed autism and all of the other stuff, plus, everything else that was going on. So it evolved as I grew up, and video games, Baldur's Gate, those kind of things did play into it. But I think my inspiration was merely just something where it was developed with me and my own heart and mind and soul, and creating these characters as my best friends.
Right.
That is really cool. We talk a lot. We have 4 of us in our family that are authors. And so we talk a lot about how our writing just tends to be daydreams that got away from us. And so we go by runaway daydreamers. And it's really cool that other people have that same experience of sitting in class and staring off into space and coming up with an entire narrative in your head, and then down the road you're like, oh, this needs to be written down somewhere. I would love to share this with somebody else.
Yep.
Not only is that impressive, it is really inspiring to see that you pushed through that and did that. That's awesome.
Right. So are you self-published, or are you traditionally published?
I chose to do the self-publishing indie author route for a couple of reasons. One, I had heard about that, like you said, a lot of publishers want your round peg to fit into a square hole. And I knew my stories were different. I'm sure I'm not the only sci-fi fantasy crossover. I'm not saying that I'm it, but I wasn't going to fit into a square hole. And I wanted more control over my books so that I wasn't being told, well, you've got to do it this way and this is how it's done and yada, yada, yada. So I chose, and I knew that going the indie route, that means it's all on me. All the marketing, all of the research and all of the reaching out is on me. But I would rather have these friends of mine and these memories that are very special to me have more of control in my realm and not have to fit into somebody else's format of what it is. If I only get one reader, oh well, this is my story and this is how I'm going to write it. If the traditional publishers don't like it, oh well.
Well, and I think that's why both of us, that's why the four of us decided we would go all indie. All of us are indie. And obviously our sister-in-law went first, JC Bryce, and she published on Amazon. And when we all realized how easy, and I say easy, but there wasn't a lot of red tape or hoops for her to jump through to get her first book out. I think it gave us all the oomph we needed to be like, okay, this is doable on your own. Yes, it's still hard. And I'm not going to sit there and say that it's the easiest process ever, but like to not have to query or have somebody tell me that, oh, hey, your characters can't be like that because that's not a true hero. It was nice. I could write the character the way I wanted. And I super worried about that when I started my book because I knew I wanted my character to be her personality to be a certain way. And it does not fit the narrative that is popular for a female heroine. So I totally agree that I did not want people telling me what I could and couldn't do in my genre. So, or in my book. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I do have an editor, Nevi Gain, and she's amazing. She's over in Europe, but she was very clear with what I needed to adjust so that I could, get it published. Anybody can just publish within a couple of clicks, but I wanted somebody other than myself or my family to look it over. Yeah. And she really liked the concept and stuff. So she was very, very helpful in really just helping me find the missing commas or the run-ons and whatnot. Yeah. But just getting that unconnected, I'm not related to you, or I'm not living down the street from you, to say, yes, this is a good idea. We should do this.
Right.
And so it was that kind of confirmation.
Well, I sent mine to a close friend, an editor, and then I sent one to someone who I hadn't talked to in a while, but I knew she read books. And I told her, I said, I am going to tell you that anything critical you have to say, I'm going to cry, but it's not I'm not taking it personally. Like it's who I am fundamentally as a person. Right. And she was like, okay. And I said, so if you tear apart a chapter, that's what I'm asking you for, is tear it apart and tell me, hey, this was not good writing. Like it needs redone, or, hey, this needs beefed up for sure. So definitely asking those other people outside of family to put eyes on it and be like, hey, so you left out one whole section that doesn't make any sense. Was like, okay, I can go back and I can fix that.
Right. Family's great, and they'll be there to support you. And you definitely, I love my family and the support that I've gotten since I've come out of the writer's cave. But, it is nice to hear from non-related people that they like the book. Mm-hmm. They've posted reviews on Amazon, and it's like, wow, they really like it.
It's a lot more comforting when it's coming from someone that you don't feel has to love you through the stuff, See, our sister-in-law, C. Britt, was my editor. Mm-hmm. But I told her, I said, I don't want you to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. I don't want you to be nice about it. You need to tell me if something's wrong. And she did. I mean, she tore the thing to shreds. There was red marks all over it. But it made it a better product by the end of it. And I think being open to that criticism and being able to grow with that is insanely important. Because I could read that thing 1,000 times and still have issues in it that I'm not catching. And so it was really good to get it in front of somebody else who wasn't me for the first time to read it. And so that's been really good.
Right. So did you do beta readers or ARC readers or anything like that? Or did you just kind of send your book out your prequel out into the world?
I did a little bit of, I did some alpha or beta readers. Nevi was my editor, and I used a couple of tools, AutoCrit, great tool. There's even a free version, so I love free.
Right.
And got some really helpful feedback as far as the storyline and everything, especially since I'm in the writer lingo. I guess I'm considered what's called a pantster. I just word vomit and then go back and find where I probably need to put in a sentence here or period every once in a while, so it's not just one long on run on. But just getting a little help. But once I got it, like the prequel, once I got it in the right format and got it typeset and edited and everything else, just like you said, popped it onto KDP to get the typesetting just right and published it.
Okay.
It's quite the process to go through and see your first draft and say, okay, I think I'm ready to send it out and have somebody look at this, and then all the stuff that goes in between, like editing and then finding a cover artist. Did you have someone design your cover for your book, or did you do it yourself?
Well, the prequel I did all myself, and because I wanted a very specific style, and I knew it was going to be simple but not simple. I know this sounds weird, but the main book I did have my artist help me with, because I wanted to incorporate the two main characters, or the three, actually, the two protagonists and the antagonist in the covers. So we all worked together to collaborate to come up with the cover art. The prequel, the supplementary series, I wanted it to look and feel like the old school velvet or leather bound books that you'd find in a dusty old library somewhere, like in a wizard's attic or something, and you just pulled it randomly off the shelf. And it's kind of interesting because I intentionally labeled it volume number 5. So it's actually going to be published out of order. And so it's like you're pulling a random book. So it's kind of cool. So
that's neat.
That is a really cool gimmick. It's always interesting to hear indie authors come up with these interesting ways they're going to put these books out. When we talked to Justin J. Gladstone, he was like, I've got QR codes all through my book, but if you scan them, it brings up all this important information. You're telling us they're not coming out in order, so when you pick one up, you're going to have to go back and find the others to make it a completed story. That's brilliant. I love
that. And it's a way to make people come back and buy the rest of the books.
Yeah,
instead of just picking up the first one, they have to go and find volume 3. They have to go and find volume 1. What is happening?
I love everything about that.
Well, and I wanted it to be, these are in the world. If you immerse yourself in the world, the building and stuff, the Aether Codex are basically textbooks or history volumes. So each one is technically a standalone. So I wanted it to be comfortable and engaging and enjoyable for my, if that's a word, my readers, but I didn't want to force them to, okay, well, you have to read this, this, and this. So if they want to continue with the series, they can, and obviously the supplement's going to follow along, but each volume of the Codex is going to be a standalone. It's just the more volumes you pick up, the more you're going to understand the underlying world building of the Aether Star Chronicles.
That's cool.
That is a really cool concept.
It's brilliant.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Brilliant's the word for that. That's
brilliant. Because that's a very marketable way to be like, if you don't want to deeply commit, you can buy 2 books and enjoy it. Or if you want to Lord of the Rings style commit to this, you can read all of this stuff, and it's all of the lore, and it's all of the things you need to know if you want to live and live action role play as these characters. This is that's really neat.
That's awesome. See, and it is fascinating because we've talked to authors that are like, well, people don't really start picking up your book until the second or third one out, and then you have to have copies of the later editions more than the first edition so that people have it. Well, with yours, it's like you can jump in anywhere. I love that idea. It's not chronological in some sense. That's fantastic, honestly.
Well, and from a buyer standpoint, if I go to this, like if I go somewhere and I see one of your books and the cover catches my attention, I can pick it up and read it, and I don't have to put on order all of the backlogs that I don't understand. Like, I can pick that up and read it, and if I want to know more, I can pick up another one. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Right. And they will, like I said, it's like the Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion and or JK's textbooks. They'll be paralleling the main story. The main story will be like a typical, series, book 1, 2, 3, 4. But these guys will just be little
interspersed
spice, sprinkling on the top.
I really, really like that. So, can you give us a rundown of like your current story? Give us a summary of what it's about.
Okay. Well, putting me on the spot.
That's very hard sometimes.
No, that's okay. So the Aether Star Chronicles is a parallel story of it. It's kind of your typical, well, not so typical chosen one theme, I guess. You've got 2 stories where you have one. Lunessa is a protagonist, and she's the leader of the Mao, who are these cat people. They're a completely separate alien race from humans. They have their own planet and everything else. They live with elves, and so they've got their world and their conflicts and everything that they're dealing with. And then on the same parallel, you have Solon, who is a Hygiene, which is a human hybrid, genetically enhanced, so a super soldier. And this is the 35th century of Earth time. And so they are sort of like the special forces are now, but just in space doing bigger and better impossible missions. And so on Solon's side, a mission comes up, some unknown object is coming in, and they think it's going to threaten the solar system. So they send these Hygiene, his team, out to investigate. It ends up being something that connects him to the other universe. So this is actually opening up the readers to the concept of a multiverse. And there's these parallel stories that go along. By the end of it, you start to realize that this might not necessarily be 2 separate stories. They might actually be together. And so it's the stars, the Aether stars that are working together and connecting both Solon and Lunessa. And they find out that this big puppet master that is controlling everything from the behind the scenes is the real big bad guy.
That's cool.
No, that's a absolutely horrible pitch.
You're good.
Okay,
you got me interested.
When
I'll say
it
that
comes to pitches, like I am the worst. People are like, "What's your book about?" And I'm like,
Deer caught in headlights.
It's and Daniel's like, Sarah, you know what it's about. I know what it's about, but I don't know how to tell them that makes them want to read it.
Right.
Well, just breaking it down into even a blurb on the back of your book is so hard to do.
Well, you don't want to give away all the things.
Yeah.
But you also are so passionate, because I'm so passionate about like what I've written, that I'm like, how do I not info dump on you to where you still want to read my book later?
I struggled so much with the back of my book, and I managed to get a number of people to help me with what you call it, the blurb.
Yeah.
So that it was down from what you just experienced, my ramblings, to something coherent.
Right.
But it took forever to get it to that point.
You were preaching to the choir.
Your cover author helped you do that, right?
No, I wrote mine, and it's trash. So it's so hard to get the themes and stuff in there without giving away everything. You don't want to throw out all of your spins that you have in there, and it's a difficult thing. So to have a group of people to come together to help you do that is a good thing. It helps a lot.
Yes. Well, and you, as an indie author, you hear so many sources, because you're researching, you're constantly, and I'm not saying traditionally published authors don't do this too, but I feel like as an indie, you're almost doubling up on your research because you don't have an agent, you don't have a publishing company that says, we know what works, you're going to do this, this, and this, and outline it. You have to go onto Google or whatever your search engine is and do the research yourself and figure it out. And you've got your blurb has to be this way, or it has to not do this, or don't do a question, or do a question, or, it was so mind-boggling to try and figure out which one of the musts and do's or this or that I was supposed to follow. And
Right.
I was just a wreck.
That is part of publishing in general. I noticed a lot of the time when I was trying to publish my book, my first thought was, okay, how long does this need to be? For it to be a real book, how long does this need to be? And I hated that. It's a bad question. And so online, you're going to find things that are like, it has to be 70,000 to 100,000 words. And I'm like, for traditional publishing, there are those rules set in place. But for indie publishing, I love the fact that I could say, okay, it is 70,000 words. That's enough. The story is told. I'm putting it out there. And I just love the freedom of that. And I think what you're talking about speaks to that. You just have enough freedom in that sense, and it's great like that.
Yeah,
for sure. So we ask this question all the time, every time, of all these authors, because we see advice on the Talk of Ticks, however you want to put it, all the time, right?
Right.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received, or like the piece that like sticks with you, piece of advice that sticks with you?
Right. I was able to put some notes down on that one. And I have two things that I've always kind of reminded myself of. And the first one is, do not give up. Don't stop writing, and write as much as possible, whenever possible. I have a meme copied on my desktop that reminds me. So every time I open up my laptop, it's there. It lists a number of big time kind of famous people books like Harry Potter, Dune, Carrie, Dr. Seuss, and all of them were rejected or told, stop writing. They were told it was horrible and they'd never be able to publish. And these authors have become classics. Mm-hmm. Tolkien, Stephen King, the J.K. Rowling, Dr. Seuss, they have Brandon Sanderson. They have become the greats at the top, the pinnacle of the mountain, while us indies are still at the bottom looking up at them. But they were at the bottom at one point, and they were told, don't do it, by somebody, until they did not give up. Mm-hmm. They listened to those don't do it. They said, okay, fine. So they went to somebody else. J.K. Rowling went to, 12, 13 other people before she found someone to publish her book. Mm-hmm. Carrie was put into the trash can before it was published. Mm-hmm. Dr. Seuss was told he was an idiot. So, right. Don't give up. No matter how much you reject, if this is something you're passionate about, if you love writing and you're writing just for yourself and you want to share it, keep writing. Don't give up. And the second one is from one of those authors in particular, Stephen King, who I found out a couple of years ago is also a pantser like me. And he said in an interview, keep writing every single day, no matter if it's, and of course I'm not quoting him perfectly, but if it's 1 word, 10 words, 100 words, 1,000 words, just write. It will help you with the dowdies, like I call it, and the imposter syndrome or the writer's block. It doesn't matter. Even if you're writing down your grocery list and adding characters to it, just write, and that will help. And those two things have really become the two horses driving this crazy train of mine.
That's awesome.
Well, and we cannot tell you how many times we've talked to six authors now. And the advice we always get is just to keep going, because it can be so discouraging. And I think that's part of the goal of this podcast,
right?
Is to encourage indie authors to keep going, and that there is community out there. of people who want to support you and want to do things to help you. You just got to find those communities and push on when stuff gets hard.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why I was so adamant about pushing for us to speak to other indie authors was I kept seeing advice videos where they were like, don't do this. If you do this, your book's gonna flop. If you do that, your book's gonna flop. And there were like 2 things that I finally reached out to our group chat and was like, y'all, my book's gonna flop. Like, they keep telling me that. And I just vividly remember like the 3 other people who were in that group chat were like, just write. Like, just write. Just go write. You will find your niche of people who like what you're writing. Like, you will find it. And even if that doesn't happen on release day, even that if that takes 2 years or whatever, just write it, get it out there. Like, it's a good idea. And I wanted other authors to have that because so much of advice screams what you can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. We can use our imaginations. That's a huge step in going, like doing. You keep saying you're a pantster. Both of us are pansters. And we have found a thing to help us with timelines because you don't think of that in your
books all over the place.
first manuscripts. You don't think about timelines till you have to start thinking about the second book. And then it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's been different writing on the sequel. So, I mean,
you can see behind me all of my notes and my doodles and my extra stuff, and that's just one wall.
right?
My hubby says sometimes I come in here and it looks like a serial killer's wall. You've got string.
Yep.
You're doing something right at least then, right? Something. So, but it has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I think that was our last question.
Mm-hmm. Where can they find her?
Where can we find you on all socials and everything else?
Right. So, like I said, the little plug, the first book, the prequel, is out now, and you can get it on Amazon or any of the Ingram Sparks partners like Barnes and Noble. You can also go onto my website and through Draft to Digital if you like no paper and ebooks, so it's available there as well. I've got it both in English and Spanish. And my author's website is on WordPress. I also I have a small business that is in the business of helping small businesses and supporting them. And so you can also go to my publishers, which is my company, A Little Help Company. And there's a link to the book there as well. And that's the prequel. But the same process will be done with the first book that will be out later this fall. It's the Aether Star Chronicles, book 1, called Awakening. I've been doing a little bit of promoting, I guess, or just getting my feet out there a little bit more on TikTok. And I've done this kind of series with a voiceover. This is the first time. I didn't realize I'm live and stuff. That's probably why my face is all red.
We're fine.
I'm very, very shy, but I did this a video compilation with my cat Mao, who is my creative muse, and she's introducing me and my book series through TikTok. And I'm actually doing a book cover reveal next week for that. So keep an eye on the TikTok if you've connected it through there. And Mao will be introducing everyone to the book cover.
Awesome. So after all is said and done, just send us your links. We'll get them tagged in the descriptions on all the things so people can find you.
Yeah.
And where can they find your book?
My book is Origins by D.L. Golden. You can find it on Amazon. And like I said, we will post all those links in the description. Any link that you want to shoot out to people, let us have it from that email and we'll send it down. We appreciate you guys joining us. This has been The Author's Chaos.
I don't have a book published, but you can find me on all socials. Daniel's trying to skip me. It's great. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a blast talking to you, KJ, and we hope you have a great day.